o'clock.
Perfect. Thank you. Welcome, everybody. Before I officially call this meeting to order, I have a statement here. We meet today on settled indigenous land, which is the traditional territory of the Chinookan peoples of the Wasco, Wishbone, Warren Spring, and Grand Ronde tribes. Let us honor this land and its traditional native stewards, past, present, and future, and strive today to embody a commitment to cultural equity and reconciliation, ecological conservation, and sustainability. I hereby call this meeting to order at 4 p.m. Tia, can you do a roll call, please?
Yes. Greg, Chair.
Hey, I'm right here.
Megan Ramey, Vice Chair.
Here.
Tamara, Secretary.
Here.
Megan Larrabee.
Here.
Isella.
Here.
Elazar.
Here.
And Matt.
Matt did send a note that he'd be traveling and would only call in if we needed quorum, so we're gonna let him be on vacation with his family.
Perfect. Thank you, Greg.
All right, thank you. Appreciate it. All right, on to agenda item number 3, approval of our January 24th meeting minutes. The team has sent that out for board review. Has everybody had a chance to review your packet?
Yeah.
Seeing some nods. Okay, would anybody like to make any changes to it? Okay, I'll entertain a motion to approve the minutes.
I make a motion to approve the minutes.
Thank you, Megan. Do we have a second?
Second.
Thank you. Sound like Tamara there. Any further discussion? Okay, with no further discussion, all those in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? Okay, chair votes aye. Minutes have been approved. Now's the opportunity. We're on to agenda item number 4 for public comment. Do we have any public in the room or online? Okay. On to agenda item number 5, discussions. We do have 2 presentations today. Will you please go ahead? You have the floor.
Great, thank you. Thank you, Chair Pack and members of the CAP Board of Directors. I really appreciate you giving me some time on your agenda today. I'm here representing the Hood River Urban Renewal Agency. I'm the Urban Renewal Administrator for the city. I was formerly Finance Director for several years and recently took on this position about 3 months ago. So the Hood River Urban Renewal Agency is the economic development arm of the city, and it's designated to use the economic development tool of tax increment financing. And that allows us to borrow against future tax growth to make investments today that then generates that future tax growth. So it's we catalyze hopefully the revenues that support our operations. And so this program has been focused in the waterfront and the downtown, and it's built new roads, sidewalks, undergrounded electric utilities, built new water, wastewater, sewer systems, and acquired parks, natural areas, and other public amenities, which has basically turned the downtown and the waterfront into the built environment that we know it to be today. But the agency's focus is now shifting to the Heights and the West Side District, and that has prompted the City Council to want to evaluate the Urban Renewal Agency's governing structure to see if it makes sense to make some changes. So the Urban Renewal Agency, while it is a component entity of the city, it does operate semi-independently under its own governing board. And historically, that has been all members of the City Council plus 2 members of the Port of Hood River, the Port Commission. And that made a lot of sense when the port was a major landowner in downtown Hood River, and then obviously for all the waterfront activity. But the new kind of shifting focus to activity in the Heights as well as planning on the West Side kind of made sense to everyone involved to take a step back and look at what makes sense going forward. So I'm here. So the city council doesn't have one specific opinion or ask yet. They are really in a fact-finding stage, and we really want to know what are other taxing districts' interest in having a formalized role in the urban renewal agency's decision-making process or decision input process. That could be as formalized as a board seat, as the Port of Hood River has had since the inception of the district, or it could be something less high touch and less time, less demanding of your time, like having a annual report or joint meeting or something like that built into our bylaws. So really open, wide spectrum. We just really want to know your interest in, in general, having a more direct involvement in urban renewal agency activities. And so with that, I'll just open up to questions and just hear, I guess I should say, I don't need any specific action from the board. I could hear just even individuals' input is just fine and what I'm looking for today.
Well, thank you, Will, for coming here and presenting. I did read through the information provided, and it seems like they operate more efficiently when it is appointed through the city or that area where they're elected officials. The attendance is higher, able to make more decisions. However, with the growth on the west side and the upper areas of Hood River and the Heights, transportation is key to reducing traffic. What we're trying to do to improve the system, I think, is integral to those kind of things. And I think you would have interest from a few of these board members to actively participate in that. So although it may be more efficient that way, I think, somebody from this board or this organization could provide a lot of good insight to help construct what that growth looks like and how we participate in that. So definitely be in favor of that route. But that's just my personal opinion. Other board members have comments for Will?
I guess just to clarify, is he looking for one of us to join the Urban Renewal Board?
No, not looking for any decision right now. The city council just basically didn't want to formulate, oh, we want this person, this person, this person, without even coming here and engaging your interest. So I'm really just taking really preliminary, just taking a pulse of what level of interest there is for involvement in the agency's business, and kind of level of interest and also availability or bandwidth.
So Will, what normally happens if somebody's absent from the meeting, we nominate them to be on some kind of board.
Good standard practice.
Just kind of standard practice for it. So
Will, question for you. So if it was decided to have a board member on the actual board, what is the time commitment that you are looking for?
Great, thanks. Yeah, we meet at 6 o'clock every second Tuesday. And the meetings are generally shorter, but I would plan for at least an hour. If we get into some really meaty things, they might last more than an hour. If we have an executive session, the meetings might start at 5:30. So we can have the executive session ahead of the meeting, because urban renewal agency meetings are always immediately followed by city council meetings. And so it's attendance at those meetings, as well as reading, understanding, and being able to participate, in the packet materials, which usually goes out on the Thursday before the Monday. I think I said Tuesday. It's second Monday of every month. I apologize. So the packets usually go out Thursday ahead of the Monday meeting.
even during football season?
Correct.
What is the tenure that you're looking for? Is it a 1-year term, 2-year term?
Yeah. Well, Kevin, I don't know if you remember off the top of your head. I can't remember if it's 1-year terms or 2-year terms for the commission.
It's two.
Yeah, but they've been constantly on it since the early 1980s. So even if it's rotating, it would be, if Cat had a specific position, which, I don't know if that's the idea or what the city council is looking for. Maybe city council may want rotating seats amongst different taxing jurisdictions. But I would imagine 2 years, or just having a permanent Cat seat.
So you're looking for a seat, not so much as a person?
Could be. It's not really what the city's looking for specifically. I'm more here wanting to know if there's any unmet need from Cat that you felt like you have wanted to have more involvement or more formalized involvement, be it in a voting capacity or be it just in additional formalized involvement. Like I said, it could be an annual joint meeting, or our regular presentations and updates from the agency. Really could be all of those spectrums. I just wanted to, or the city council wants to check in to know this body's, the Cat board's body's interest in a more formalized participatory role in the agency's activities.
Well, and I-
This is Megan Ramey. Sorry, I've been quiet. Just been paying attention. And Will just prompted a question, not a question, but just, yeah, I think Cat should have some type of voting on, when I think of all of the discussion that's happened around the streetscape in the Heights, transit has been glossed over a bit. And yeah, I think it would be nice to have an opinion and or stakeholder from transit.
Yeah, I think that's the goal, right? That's as Chair Pack was saying, there's the quick and the efficient, and then there's also the highly involved and getting all the stakeholders input and involvement. And certainly, that's where a Cat seat would be really useful, is bringing your perspective and input to the board's decisions.
And I agree with that, having the opportunity for input, but also having someone involved to bring it back to the board, that if there is a route that is going, or a direction that's going, that maybe our input is needed to make it conducive to transportation, we have that at the board information in a quicker timeline. Instead of a 6-month report or something like that. I think, because it is our responsibility as board members to provide transportation, I do feel we should have a seat at the table.
And so
Yeah.
I'm hearing, wanting timely and material involvement in transit decisions. I'm wondering if that translates to a board seat, where you would need to be up to date and have opinions on issues of parks and recreation, affordable housing. While transit is a very important part of the investments that we're making, there's a whole lot more that the agency oversees as well. So that's something to think about.
I think my 2 cents, I support what Tamara and Megan both said. I kind of think that, yes, I think Cat should have a seat at the table. I mean, we're also all community members, so it's not like all the rest of the urban renewal stuff doesn't apply. Even though it might not be Cat specific, it's still, I think there's a space for an extra voice. With that said, I sort of like the idea of making it like a Cat position, and then Cat members maybe rotate in and really report back. So it doesn't I don't know. I think it would be more attractive for if our priority is the Cat board to do like a one-off or rotate around, so everybody gets that experience and then can report back to the Cat board, relevant information.
I agree. I like that.
Great. So maybe seats rotate quicker than every 2 years, maybe every 1 year or
Or
something.
even every well, I guess I don't know. I was gonna say, how often are the meetings again?
Once a month.
Once a month.
Yeah, so you'd want to keep fairly good continuity of like knowledge of the issues that are going on and building.
Okay,
I think you'd want somebody on there for a 2-year rotation, that same individual. Even though it could be a cat
Okay.
seat, I think for those exact reasons that Will stated, continuity and staying up to speed. Just like on this board, it takes a while to understand what's really going on. I'd be ashamed to lose some of that institutional knowledge if we change too quickly.
I think we
Sure.
could make it part of our executive committee elections. So not necessarily part of the executive committee, but every July we do an election for the executive committee members. So maybe we could tack that on every other year if that's the way that city council decides to go. So there would be a switch over every July or every other July.
And Will, when's you're taking this information back to the city? I thought I read in there that there was a February 12th meeting deciding like some direction on that. Was that postponed to another month or what's the?
Oh yeah, the February 12th is where I got the direction to reach out to all of you.
Okay. Okay.
And so I'm going to bring this information back. I'm going to try to synthesize everything I heard from the different taxing jurisdictions, bring that to them in March, their March meeting, and see which way they want to go.
Okay.
Great. Well, I really thank you very much for the input. This is really useful, and I will definitely circle back to provide feedback of where the city council goes, no matter what.
Thank you, Will. Appreciate you presenting to us.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Will.
Okay. All right, now on to discussion item 5B, which is Kevin Greenwood with the Port of Hood River and letter of support that was included in your packet. Kevin, go ahead. The floor is yours.
And Tim, we have a presentation to go along.
Is there pretty colors, videos, and sound?
There's no sound, no music, but we do have some pretty pictures. So can everybody see that?
Tim, are you sharing?
Not yet on our end.
Gotta go to Zoom. There you go. Oops, sorry, go back to the. There you go, and then share screen,
There you go.
and then PowerPoint, there you go.
There should be a little,
We got it now. It's not in presentation mode, but it's our slide mode, but it's there.
here, try that one, Slide Master. Oop,
Oops.
no. Down in the lower right-hand corner, there's a little slideshow right next to the, there, right, next one, there you go, that, right there. Hopefully.
Or it's a blank screen. There we go. Can you guys see it?
Yes.
Great.
Well,
Oh,
we're in presenter mode, but that's fine.
Oh, gotcha. So we're seeing, in here, we're seeing the full screen. You're seeing the one with my notes.
Yeah, do you want me to read the notes for you?
Oh, yeah, you don't want to read those notes.
Maybe, maybe we can just exit out of that, Tim, and
Sorry.
you're doing great.
Yeah, I don't use PowerPoint ever. So.
Zoom and PowerPoint is
Do
always
you want me to, I
fun.
can sit there and
Yeah, I wouldn't start from Slide Master. I just go to home and start slideshow and that'll probably work from beginning and then maybe you'll be in the,
Here, maybe.
Amy's giving some technical support.
okay.
Well, I'll just introduce myself since we kill some time. My name is Kevin Greenwood. I'm the executive director at the Port of Hood River. I've worked for the port since 2017. I first was hired by Michael McElway to work on the bridge replacement project. And then when Michael retired about a year and a half ago, I was promoted to executive director. Before coming to Hood River, I was the executive director at the Port of Newport down the Oregon coast. And then before that, the Port of Garibaldi. And I was actually a city manager for 5 years in Garibaldi as well. So been a public administrator for 20 plus years. And Hood River is an awesome community and really appreciate the opportunity to present to you this afternoon. Can you guys see that now? Is that working?
Yeah, we can see it.
Is it still on presentation mode?
It's not on, if you go to slideshow and say start from the beginning, we'd see it there. Slideshow up top and then from beginning. But I think this works as well. Oh, look at that, beautiful.
Okay, maybe we're there. All right.
There we go.
Do you have the overview slide?
So, so I'll just give a quick overview. So the port had been very involved in the last 10 years, working on transportation improvements on the waterfront. If you recall, there had been an option to extend East Anchor Way, which would have bisected Lot 1. And Lot 1 is the large vacant parcel down on the waterfront. And so we're going to talk a little bit about the not doing the East Anchor Way, but actually doing a roundabout, explain the purpose and need for that roundabout, talk a little bit about the budget, our schedule, and then the benefits to the community. And then I'll thank you all for listening to this. Next slide. So Lot 1, that's the lot there in the center of your screen. It has been studied profusely over the decades, but still nothing has happened there. It's probably, aside from the bridge, the number one thing that I get asked about. What's going on at Lot 1? And so obviously there's a lot of interest in that property, but frankly, regardless of what takes place and is built vertically on Lot 1, you need to have the infrastructure, utilities, and transportation infrastructure in place. Next slide. So right now, the current configuration at Lot 1, there at the intersection of South 2nd and Riverside, will actually hit its traffic capacities in 2030. So that was the reason for looking at traffic improvements on the site and trying to ensure that as growth occurs on the waterfront, there's enough traffic flow so that, frankly, exit 63 off of 84 does not get backed up, because ODOT is very concerned about the, hey Megan, is very concerned about traffic backing up on the ramps. So the roundabout will actually remove all of the traffic limitations for any development at Lot 1. It'll also open up some opportunities for recreational retail along Nichols Basin. There's a 7,000 square feet of some small commercial opportunities. One idea that I talked to Amy about is maybe have a little kiosk where you could have a ticket booth or some information for CAT. It really also is another opportunity to provide sustainability for the port after the bridge tolls are no longer going to waterfront activities in 2026. So the port is going to be getting off of bridge tolls in July 1 of 2026. That does not mean that tolls are going away. It just means that they're not going to non-bridge related activities like waterfront, property development, the airport, etc. 100% of the tolls are going to be going and staying into maintaining the existing bridge. So I want to make that very clear because it confuses people. And the income that comes off of those commercial opportunities along Nichols Basin can help offset some of the costs that the bridge tolls have been subsidizing for maintaining the waterfront parks. We're also looking to improve industrial truck traffic from I-84 to the western portion of the waterfront, the industrial zone where Hood River Distillers and Ryan's Fruit are located, and the wastewater treatment facility as well. And then also, there isn't any kind of transit facility in this very high use area. Next slide, please. So this, we did have a DKS, which is a traffic transportation consultant. They did a lot of math, looking at different intersection controls. And I don't necessarily know what all these numbers mean, but I will highlight the 0.61. Low numbers are good. That means that you're getting good traffic flow through your intersections, and the roundabout is actually the lowest number. And so that's the point of this slide, is to kind of show that the roundabout actually solves a lot of problems regarding traffic flow at that intersection of South Second and Riverside.
Kevin,
Yes.
apologies, I was in turning this off,
Oh, yeah.
and then where's the roundabout?
So this at South Second in Riverside. So when you come off,
The main
of-
one?
it's the first one
Yeah,
you come
okay,
to.
good.
Next slide, please. So here's kind of the configuration off to the right that kind of shows what the proposal looks like. So you can see that roundabout, and then you can see the arm that goes off to the side, goes to South First. South First moves a little bit to the west, which creates all that new parkland. And so, and I think that is where Amy and I have talked about where the potential transit stop would be somewhere along First Street, most likely on the Nichols Basin side. So people would come off, they'd have the recreational opportunities right there. That's where these little kiosks would be. And so there's an opportunity there for CAT as well. And so this project, which includes all the capital of engineering the roundabout and the relocation and the recreational improvements, including staff time, is about 6.5 million. And so we're going after a wide variety of grants to pull this off. That top one, which is the EDA Public Works and Economic Development Fund, we've received that already. So we've already got 1.9 towards the project. The reason I'm here today is to request a letter of support for our CDS, which is congressionally directed spending. Back in the old days, they used to call those earmarks. They're slowly coming back. But that's what we're looking is to do on Fridays, to submit our earmark request to Merkley and Wyden's office. And we're going to ask for $1 million from them towards this project. We need about 250 to complete engineering. So I think 25% would go into engineering, but 75% of that would go into actual construction. We've received 500,000 through the coronavirus funding, which maybe you guys had received some as well. The commission put that money into this project. And the port is also committing our own staff. That's the 1 year, 100,000. And they're committing $1 million towards the capital project. But we've got a long ways to go to finish that. And so there's another couple of opportunities that we'll be applying for as well. So it's a big project, and we really are looking for our project partners, and CAT is definitely one of those. So next slide, please. So talking a little bit on schedule, we currently are working with KPFF as our engineers of record. And so we're looking to get this design by the middle of last year and construction a couple of years. Now, I don't know how many of you know my board, but this schedule is not very satisfactory to them. They would like to see this project completed by the end of 2025. And so I put a disclaimer there that we're looking to accelerate this schedule as funding allows. So they don't like this schedule. I don't like it either. But this is what we've got from KPFF, but we're really looking to push this as well. Next slide. So just off to the right are some of the meetings that I've had to date as far as building up support and awareness for the project. But really the benefits to this is really increasing safety between the industrial side of the waterfront and the recreational traffic. Increase some opportunities for job creation, really focused on the 7,000 square feet on Nichols Basin. We don't know what's going to happen on Lot 1, so we're not even counting those jobs yet. And there's going to be a larger community discussion that Commissioner Shepard's going to be leading to find out ultimately what should go on Lot 1. Another thing is just improving the aesthetics to this really high demand area in the United States. I mean, for wind sports right now, it's great. Everybody appreciates it, but it's a little rough down there. I mean, it's not very finished. It's that median and first is odd. And so I think it will really improve the aesthetics of the waterfront. Right now, there is minimal stormwater collection, so having some pre-treatment, collecting that as stormwater comes off of the asphalt and pavement. Improves the traffic flow. So our guiding document is the interchange access management plan that is part of the city's TSB, really wanting to make sure that it's easy for ODOT's traffic flow coming off of 84. Again, just touching on the opportunities to look at opportunity for replacing tolls when those go away. And so far, we've actually gotten really good support from the city community development, city public works. We've received a letter of support from the city council. Hood River County Commission approved the letter yesterday as part of the Jessica Mehta's SEDS presentation to the county adoption. So we met with McKed as well, and then ODOT's Regional 1 project delivery and planning teams. And so it's going to be a long process to get ultimate ODOT buy-in, but that's why we're really trying to ramp up our meetings with all of the partners. And so really adding a transit facility. Right now, I think the vision is to have a place where people can safely get off of the buses, immediately get into the recreational opportunities in a safe and clear manner so people know where to go. And then really just removing traffic barriers to allow construction on lot 1 of a community-based facility yet to be determined. Next slide. So funding opportunities. So one of the things that we're doing is looking for letters of support. And so the port is asking from CAT for a letter of support for the congressionally directed spending, but also hopefully to get kind of an umbrella request. Well, really, when we come back for other opportunities, like we're looking at April 30th, we've got an opportunity next February. There's going to be other grants. I have no problem coming back to you for each request, but it might be nice just to have kind of an umbrella approval so that I can work with Amy and your board chair to get a letter whenever we have a grant opportunity. So that's our request and kind of a brief schedule of some of the funding opportunities. There's a picture of lot 1 like in 1960. It's hardly recognizable. I got that from Arthur Abbott's.
That's pretty great.
Yeah. Next slide. So that's it. There's our crazy waterfront during the summer. So I don't know if those kayaks can get put on the bus.
I was thinking.
Funny story, we have actually had kayaks put on our bus.
Oh,
before.
yeah.
Mhm. It's been a while, but it has happened.
But thank you very much. I really appreciate it. And it's good to see everybody. And thanks for the invitation.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Kevin.
Thanks,
Yeah,
Greg.
we vote on this later on in resolutions.
Okay.
But does anybody have any questions for Kevin while he's here?
Too quick. What is the replacement revenue in tolls? What's that
Replacement
for?
so right now, there's about $6 million a year that come from tolls, and about 5 million of that is with the bridge.
Yep.
So there's been about 1 million over the years that have been used for non-bridge related activities,
Oh, okay.
primarily geared on the waterfront. And so we've been reducing costs, and so over the last couple of years, and so right now there's about a $250,000 toll subsidy on our waterfront rec.
Okay.
And so we're gonna have to make that up along the way. And so that's gonna be, I hate to say it, paid parking.
I think that's
That's
smart anyway, but yeah.
that's really, we netted $100,000 on the paid parking program. And so that's all part of trying to supplant tolls for the long-term sustainability of the port.
Okay. And then along the lines of the paid parking, what I think has been one of the most awesome shifts down at the waterfront is finally seeing, excuse my language, the Carry Shit Olympics happening with e-bikes pulling trailers full of all the wind gear. So people have discovered that that's not only like cheaper, but it's also like just more gratifying and joyful. And the roundabout, I assume, is just like purely a conceptual design right now.
That's right.
But the, design process, the
Mhm.
engagement process, you're going to, talk about after transportation needs.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Roundabouts are great for moving
Oh,
vehicular traffic. They're not necessarily.
No, they are. The Dutch use them.
Do they?
Oh,
That's
yeah,
good.
it's the best practice standard.
That's great.
Yeah, they're the safest overall, and I just wanna make sure that it's done correctly, because they can, like, American standard roundabouts are not the most bike friendly, but the one that's gonna be going on the heights will be.
Well, when it ever comes to anything bike related, my first call is to Megan. And she knows that too, so, absolutely,
Okay.
we'll be reaching out to you when we get to that level of design.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, thank you very much, Kevin. You're welcome to stick around, or we can call you afterwards and let you know.
Yeah, well, Amy, why don't I just follow up with you in the morning
That's
and
good.
see how it goes?
Yeah.
Okay, thanks, everybody.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Have a great evening.
Yeah, thanks for coming in.
Okay, we're on to agenda item number 6, which is our monthly financial report, which is the lightweight one, but Tia, go ahead.
Thanks, Greg. Okay, so I have a few things that I wanted to update the board on. But to start, you guys received the statement of activity as well as the AP and AR aging summaries this month. Does anybody have any questions regarding those items after reviewing them?
I'm sorry, Tim, are we still recording? It doesn't, I don't see the recording thing.
Yeah, it's recording on our end.
Okay.
Yeah, on
Alright,
our
great.
end, it still says recording.
Wonderful, sounds good.
Perfect. And then, so a few things to note, after the close of the month, we did receive the funds from REI for the Gorge Pass purchases, and we also received the funds from the Forest Service for last summer's Dog Mountain. So those have been received, and you'll see those in your packets next month.
So that's about 90,000.
I believe it was 80, yeah, close. It was like 87 around there.
Okay.
And then an update on our LGIP account. It has been approved. I am finalizing the last bit of paperwork with Amy, and I'll need to sneak Miss Megan before she leaves. And we should have everything submitted by tomorrow morning and have full access to the account by no later than Friday, they say. So we'll be moving forward and be able to separate those funds, which is exciting.
Very important as we start the fiscal year 25 budget process.
Yes. Then staff also wanted to update the board on a clerical issue that was found when completing the Q2 grant reimbursements. A month's worth of personnel and other expenses totaling roughly $150,000 was not included in the Q1 grant reimbursements. Staff was able to submit an adjustment, and the district will be reimbursed for those expenses. But it does mean that the district will be drawing down faster on the grants than we initially anticipated. We can still maintain our current level of service with our existing grants, but this is in conjunction with receiving less stiff formula funds than originally projected. It does mean that we have less ability to pay for unforeseen expenses without utilizing the reserve funds. Staff is working with the outside accountant to refine our processes to make sure that this type of issue doesn't happen again. And we are also working on some additional solutions to reduce the financial strain on the stiff formula funds. And Amy will be discussing that in more detail in the action items.
Okay, just to make sure I understand. The missed funds have been presented for reimbursement.
Correct.
Yes.
So it's just a temporary, or is this going to be a year-long issue?
So it's gonna impact, it impacts our total biennium, right? Because, so our biennium, our grant biennium is from, it started in July and it goes through fiscal year, July or June 30th, 2025. That's the whole biennium. So it'll
Okay.
impact that because it's essentially drawing down our grants a little faster than we had initially expected.
By that 150,000,
Yes.
but when will we see reimbursement?
Oh, should be in the next month and a half.
Oh,
So,
so that's where I'm like, why
I-
isn't it just affecting us by 1 month?
right,
Because I'm sorry, I don't understand the question.
well, okay. It's 150,000 that was missed.
Yeah.
For, I'm gonna say January, but we're going to see it in March. So February should be the only month affected.
So it doesn't necessarily impact our months, it just impacts our grant funds available.
Okay,
Does that,
and this is, I apologize,
Yeah.
it's where I'm disconnected.
so this doesn't impact our cash balance. This
But-
doesn't impact that
Okay.
at all. So it impacts in the sense that we're getting them, instead of getting them in, probably would have gotten them, what, November? We're getting them in March instead.
Okay, but is it a situation where, say there was, we figured out we needed, I'm just gonna throw out numbers, say 500,000. And then we realized that we should have had that 650,000,
Mhm.
so we're not getting the 650,000, we're only getting 500,000.
No, we're getting the 650,000.
Okay.
It'll all get reimbursed.
Okay,
So this isn't hurting our cash. This is just hurting, it just changes the way that we look at our grants. And how we are filing for reimbursements for those grants. Does
So
that
I had a
make
hard time understanding this as well too, and Amy and I talked about, I said the same thing, I'm like, wait, we're still getting the money back, so what does it matter, it's a temporary gap.
That's my.
in funding. So yeah, Amy's exactly correct, the cash is still there, but we made decisions on what we could do operationally based on a number that we hadn't accounted for. So that $100,000, when we looked ahead at some of the programs that we could run, was, we didn't have that expense. That expense is now there. So decisions were made. So Amy will present later on to say how we're gonna, some adjustments we can make to make sure that we don't dip into our reserve funding. Because we made
Okay,
decisions
okay.
based off what we knew at that time, when that money didn't exist in there, and now it does. If that makes
sense?
more sense.
I think the main,
yeah,
there,
it does, thank you.
yeah, thank you, Greg. There's less buffer than we originally thought in our SIP
Okay.
funds, is the bottom line there.
Okay.
Especially that with the fact that the STIF funds, the formula funds, which are a state payroll tax, we are receiving the minimum amount that we could receive for those. And the projections have been higher than that. So because of those two changes, there is just less buffer room in our STIF formula funds than we had expected, or that we had made decisions based on. Does that help?
Mhm.
So for transparency, I wanted to make sure you guys were aware of this, that we are addressing it. We are putting the processes in place so that issues like this don't happen going forward. And also bring with you a couple of solutions to protect those STIF funds a little bit more.
Okay.
Make sense? Okay.
Perfect. Thank you. Any other questions for Tia on the monthly financials? In the lightweight version? Okay. We're on to resolution and action items. There are several agenda items out there today. But Amy, I'll have you walk us through them. And then partway through this, Megan, I'll need you, Megan Raymond, to take over the meeting. So I'll still be listening, but I'll need to hand off the meeting.
Is that what you did?
I don't know what's going on. Yes, we are.
Do you want to print out of it?
Either way, I have it right here too.
Okay.
So,
Sounds good.
So the first one is 7A, which is approval of work out of class policy.
Awesome. So as we had discussed at the last board meeting, I was working with the union on a couple of different policies, one of those being the work out of class pay rate program. Essentially, this allows us to temporarily use a lower class employee at a higher class. So if a higher class employee is out for long-term leave, we have the ability to still maintain regular operations. The impact financially is minimal, except if, for example, I'm out for a long-term leave, then the financial impact would be greater. However, I think that would be an important person, making sure that there is somebody who could do at least some of my responsibilities at the basic level. Anyways, so I am asking the board to approve the policy. This policy has been reviewed by our HR consultants, 2 lawyers, as well as the union, and have been approved as presented in your packet. And staff is recommending approval of the program.
Okay.
Are there any questions?
I'll make a motion to approve.
Thank you. We have a second? Okay, second. Any further discussion? Okay, all those in favor of work out of class policy, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? Okay, chair votes aye. 7A passes. On to 7B, approval of rider rules and road suspension policy.
All right, thank you. So again, we had talked a little bit in January about the rider rules of the road and suspension policy and how we were working on it. It has since been approved by ODOT Consultants RLS and by WSDOT and ODOT. Yeah, I have submitted in your packet just the compilation of all the rules, just to ensure that it's kind of in a nice neat package. I did highlight the ones that have already been approved at past board meetings, just so it's clear not all of these necessarily are new policies, but I wanted to make sure they were compiled together. Any questions or concerns?
You know, is there like a table of, sorry, and I may have misread it or should have read more in there, that shows what they do get paid, the actual pay amount when they're working out of class?
Yes, so it would be the first level on the pay equity scale for that
Okay.
position.
We're just not showing that pay scale here.
No, that's the one that gets approved each year as part of the budget committee process.
Got it. Thank you.
Wait, really quick, I have another question on that. Amy, you gave the example of if you were out for long and someone took over. Isn't this just for union workers? And are you not union, or are you union?
I am not union.
Okay,
So
so-
this would apply for any employee. Originally, the purpose of me bringing this policy to you all was for when we are out or when we are down 1 or 2 field supervisors. And since our policy is to have a field supervisor on duty whenever we are operating, in order to do that, you have myself, Jeff, or even Tia, who are acting as a field supervisor on duty. So in an attempt to not burn out my staff, this would allow us to use a driver who is trained on some basic responsibilities and tasks, who could work as a field supervisor and allow us to maintain someone on duty when we are operating. That doesn't necessarily include myself, Jeff, or Tia. Does that make sense?
Okay, so it's basically to take care, so you guys don't have to do that role.
Correct. So like, for example, we had a field supervisor who was out for a month for paid leave. And since his days were on a Saturday, I worked part of the Saturday and so did Jeff. So that was on top of my 40-hour work week.
Okay,
I was working a 6th day in order to make sure that we had a field supervisor, as was Jeff, to make sure that we had a field supervisor on duty. We also had, Tim, do you mind allowing Greg to admit? We also had other field supervisors who were taking additional shifts or reworking their schedule in order to maintain a field supervisor on duty whenever we're operating. So, and if we did have this policy approved, this would allow us to take a driver who was interested in training or professional development to act as that field supervisor for an amount of time, build up their skills and get paid a higher amount to represent the duties that they were doing.
okay.
And that is the most common reason for why we would be using this program. I put the example of if I were out, because I wanted the board to understand that if I were out, there would be a higher financial impact than if if a field supervisor is out.
Okay. And then just to clarify, typically there are adequate field supervisors available that don't rely on you or Tia coming out to cover.
Correct.
Okay, so this is like a backup to the backup.
Yes. So this comes into play when we have one or more field supervisors out due to sickness or long-term leave
Okay,
or vacation that's more than 10 days.
okay. Thanks for clarifying.
I'm confused. Did we jump back to A?
So we did.
Okay.
We jumped back to the discussion
Okay.
with regard to work out of class policy. Is there any other, which is good. I'm glad you guys have questions. I want to make sure that you guys feel comfortable with this. And also to add on to that, I did have the opportunity, I could have just done this policy for drivers and field supervisors, but I felt that if we were going to make this policy, it should be applicable potentially to all employees.
Yeah, I mean, the examples you gave made a lot of sense. I just started to think, well, if Amy has to be out for, let's say, 30 days and we start paying Amy's salary, like, and then is Amy getting her salary? Like, where, like, I don't know. I feel like this could create a big wrinkle in the budget.
That's a very good question, and that's why I wanted you guys to be aware of that potential. So if, let's say I'm out on I'm a 2-month leave through paid leave Oregon. I would be getting the majority of that salary through paid leave Oregon, and if I made the decision to use some of my sick leave time, or my paid leave time, I could use that as well. But then the impact to the district would be, there would be a jump from, if we're using Tia as the example, from her salary to the lowest level of the executive director salary according to the pay equity scale, which I believe is on a yearly basis, it's roughly about, I think, $15,000.
But we wouldn't be, the budget would not be affected by your full salary during that time, correct?
It would be, no, it would not.
Because paid Oregon would jump in there and then you're,
It's using my PTO.
yeah, which
Yeah.
is in a pool.
Yeah.
So the budget would not be as drastically affected.
No, you wouldn't necessarily be paying both our salaries, but
Right.
there would be an increase. However, I would be concerned of not having someone in the executive director role for a long period of time. I don't foresee that happening, but I like to think
Yeah.
of.
And then, like, so in this example, it's like Tia cover for you, then you'd bring someone up to cover for Tia. Like, it could be a whole.
So I don't think that would necessarily be needed. So I did include some language in there so that it could, we could kind of take it by case basis.
Okay.
I think if in this example, you would want Tia to step in so that if there was kind of a hard decision that needed to be made, Tim, sorry, it's a little distracting. To make decisions as needed if if there seems to be some confusion of the best way to go. But I don't foresee it being one of those things where it'd be a lot of tasks where we would need to bring somebody else. We might need to adjust a little bit, but I think and we would have to prioritize what's on Tia's workload and take some of the things off that are not a priority for the time that I'd be gone. But then we have Tim available to do some of Tia's tasks. So we would be able to just reprioritize people's tasks. But that's a very good question.
All right, so we don't need to modify anything with that vote.
Well, I think that might, because we had a lot of questions, it might
Okay.
be, is a new vote needed, or do you feel comfortable with moving forward?
This is more Megan, question for Megan, I guess.
Yeah.
I don't think a new vote is necessarily needed. So.
Okay, so we're on to B, which was the rider rules, and I was gonna ask, I'm trying to look at two things at once. Do you mind if I just see a copy of
The biggest change is gonna be the no-show, or clarification is the no-show penalty suspension. Our old suspension policy, it was really more for scheduled rides. So I added some clarity in there of refusal of service due to rider conduct and no-show policy, meaning somebody has scheduled a ride several times and several times showing a trend of not showing up that ride, so they're misusing public funds. So, and then also clarifying that it cannot be for an unreasonable, clarifying that it has to be for a reasonable amount of time. So, suspending someone because of no-shows, the total amount that we can suspend someone is 30 days. And the old policy, it was not quite as clear that was the maximum length of time. And then the rider suspension due to rider conduct, we're just being a little bit more clear of when that conduct means that you're gonna get thrown off the bus or asked to be removed from the bus. And
And I missed
yeah.
the rule part, the rules that we saw at the last meeting, right? Is that what we're talking about?
so we're doing a little bit of both.
Okay, yeah,
So the rules is at the very beginning.
Okay,
So when
yeah.
riding cat
that's what I
services,
wanted to see.
and then there's also the suspension policy.
Okay,
So
And this hopefully reflects what we talked about
Yeah.
last meeting.
is there, and I'm wondering, is it possible, if there is a habitual person, that, do we just suspend them like every 6 months for 30 days? Is there, if it's habitual and horrific enough, which I have seen, that we have a complete suspension, are we allowed to do that?
So it depends on the type. So if we're talking suspension due to rider conduct, then at a certain point it gets pushed to law enforcement, and they will handle it based on the laws. And the no-show policy, if it's a habitual, it would just be 30 days at a time. So let's say they do consistent no-shows, then we suspend them for 30 days, we allow them to use the service again, it happens again, then again, it would be 30 days. If it happened again, I would probably reach out to the consultants to just confirm, but my understanding is we would just have to continue that.
Okay, no. Okay. Because previously, we had an issue with a gentleman, and since y'all don't know him, Raleigh, who would get on at Seaside to go to Cannon Beach and would be abusive language, etc. We would just disallow him from the bus. 6 months later, he would get back on. Same type thing, maybe a year later, he would get on, and that type of behavior was continual, and we were never allowed to just refuse service. And I didn't know if that was something that had changed or you've been able to.
So it has to be, and the specific term is refusal of service may occur in situations where a rider engages in violent, seriously disruptive, or illegal conduct, or represents a direct threat to the health or safety of others. It should be noted that refusal of service to an individual with disability shall not occur solely because the individual's disability results in involuntary behavior that may offend, annoy, or inconvenience others. So it has to be a high bar. Just because somebody is cussing loudly does not mean that is seriously disruptive or a safety threat to others.
My understanding is not gonna happen without the police involved, and the police can write a citation, a no trespassing.
Yeah.
Like if we're gonna kick anybody off a bus, the police will be contacted to meet our drivers.
So we would be allowed to do a no trespass if it was severe enough.
If it
Yeah.
meets
I,
a point where it's a safety threat to others.
but isn't that the police's
If they do
determination?
a no
Yes.
trespass, can we honor that to where if it's over 30 days, I mean, that's a no trespass and the person can't come back?
So just to clarify, if the police show up and they say no trespass, then it's 30 days? Sorry, was that the question?
Yeah, for me, yeah, because it's 30 days, at 31 days, he'll be back. He could be
Yeah.
back, right? But if it's criminal trespass from the police department, he's still allowed to come back on that 31st day? Or is he, how long is it trespass from the police department?
So it
Valid.
also, it depends, I think there's a lot of caveats in there. It depends on what the actual issue is and what they're being cited or cited from the police. So if it's something where, let's say the individual is on the bus and we feel it meets that high bar and we ask them to get off, then what we have told our drivers that it should be close to where, or it should be at the same point where you feel like the police should be involved. That is a high bar to us. And that seems to be a pretty good understanding for people. And then if the police decide that the threat was big enough that they need to address it in other ways, then they can do that. Or, if we do a trespass, then if they come back on the bus, if we do deem a trespass needed, we would suspend them for 30 days. And if they come back on the bus, then it just, then we would call the police, that would get involved, and then it would be handled through law enforcement.
So at 31 days, though, at the 30th day from us, we'll suspend him. On the 31st day, if he shows up, the trespass is still there by the police department. He can technically get in trouble for coming on the bus, right? I mean, according to the police department, not to us though. Because we're allowing him to get back on.
Yeah,
The
so I
31st day.
think that, again, that gets where it's, before I would actually make that decision, I'd be
Yeah.
working with law enforcement and also ODOT to make sure that we're not potentially getting into a world of liability issues. But if they are legally not allowed on the bus, then if we see them, we would call the police and we would know that, then we would call the police and let law enforcement handle it. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, I'm just trying to cover all bases, because if he comes back on 31 days, the trespass is still valid to Hood or PD or whoever gives it to him.
Yeah,
We allow him back on 31st day, because he's only suspended from us for 30 days.
yeah.
But that's still technically illegal if he comes back on the bus because he's been trespassed from the bus
Well, I think if
for that person.
if the police are gonna, let's say, do 2-month trespassing, then we would honor 2-month trespassing, right? If
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah,
At the
if-
31st day, if he's, like
Yeah.
you said, it's a 2-month trespass. On the 31st day, we still don't allow him on the bus, but we
Well,
have
so
to after 30
They
days.
also have to show a sustained improvement. So if we're in the point where we're working with law enforcement on a rider issue and they, based on the information that they have on this individual and the conduct that this individual has done, if they issue a 2-month trespassing, then we, to Jeff's point, we would honor that. But then after that time, if that individual shows up and is following our policies and is not showing behavior that would meet what I had already kind of outlined, then they could ride the bus.
So the police trespassing duration overrides our
Our
30-day
30 days.
30-day policy.
When it comes to refusal of service due to rider conduct, because then you're getting in the world of law enforcement, and they would need to make that decision of what is best for the safety of the community.
Hey, Amy, I have a quick question. I want to make sure we stay on time and on schedule.
I know.
Yeah.
Do you need me for form for the rest of the resolution? Because I have about 8 more minutes before I can't be on the call.
Nope, you are good. Thank you. We have quorum.
Okay. All right, I'm listening and I'll vote on the remaining items. I just want to make sure we stay on schedule.
Yeah. Thank you very much. So any more questions
I'm
on
good.
that?
Thank you,
Okay,
yeah.
cool. I think when you get into this world, when we're getting more than that, we would be looping in people who have a little bit more in-depth knowledge of law enforcement
For sure.
issues and what we could do from there.
Sounds good.
All right, is everybody okay?
Yeah.
Or I'll entertain a motion.
I second.
Oh, I need a first motion.
So moved.
Okay. Now, Megan, would you like a second?
I'll second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
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 Chair votes aye, or vice chair votes aye, I should say.
All right, the next one is approval of upcoming grant applications. So as we have discussed before, per our financial management policy, when I'm applying for grant applications, I do need board approval. There are 4 different applications that I am currently working on. And I am seeking the board's approval for me to move forward. The first one is the 5339 bus and bus facilities discretionary program. And that is, it will be CAT site or transit site development project. So that includes acquisition and development of a park and ride, as well as a transfer facility at the port. So in conjunction with the project that Kevin discussed today. And we have received a letter of support from the Port of Hood River. And also project management consultant to move those projects forward. So it's not necessarily up to the staff to fully move those forward. The estimated total cost is about $1 million. So the expected match would be about $100,000. Right now, that match would be STIF funding as well as local funding. As I am going through these applications, I think it's becoming pretty clear that in the next biennium, we need to shift our strategy and use our STIF formula funds for more matching for other operating funds, but also for capital grants. So facility development as well as vehicle.
And that million includes construction?
Yes.
Okay.
So we might have to be, that might need to be like the base level construction, and then just make it so that we could add on to amenities as we have funding available. I was trying to come up with a number based on what the funding is available in that project as a whole. And then I will also have priorities of that project. So if they cannot fund that full amount, then what they could fund. Sorry, and then the second one on there is 5310 Enhanced Mobility of Seniors and Individuals with Disabilities Discretionary Program. So that I am seeking to increase our demand response capacity for the Upper Valley as well as dial-a-ride. So potentially looking at 7-day dial-a-ride service in the city of Hood River, but also in the Upper Valley. This would allow us to move forward with making Upper Valley a fixed route system on its own, as well as adding increased mobility services for our residents in the Upper Valley. This was something that was identified in the transit master plan, and I get a request almost every other day from community members for more access for Upper Valley. So that is estimated total cost about $701,000. So the expected match is about $300,000. Because since it be an operating grant, then a higher match is required. So this alludes to one of my ideas for reducing some of the strain on STIF funds. Because right now we do use STIF funds for operating the Upper Valley and dial-a-ride. As well as we also use 5311 funds. But this would help reduce some of that reliance on STIF funds, and then we could use STIF funds more for the match. Does that make sense?
Mhm.
And as well as allow us to move forward with transit master plan identified projects for Upper Valley. The next is the vehicle replacement discretionary program. We're seeking to replace the Gorge to Mountain or seasonal service vehicles, i.e. the Gorge to Mountain buses, as well as the buses that we use for Dog Mountain. This could help reduce our preventive maintenance spending considerably, but also provide a more comfortable ride as we would be able to outfit the vehicles for those recreational uses. So again, so the total cost, and we also add we would like to reintroduce a low floor trolley bus. We have received some funds from the city of Hood River several years ago to go towards this, so we do have those funds, but we would still need some STIF funds available for that match, which we do have. And then the fourth is 5304 statewide transportation planning grant program. This would be to hire a consultant to kind of assist with the creation of a transit facility plan as a whole. We've done a lot of ideas kind of piecemealing based on different grants, and I think it would be helpful to have a consultant kind of help with the overall plan and kind of meld all the pieces together to ensure we're going in the right direction as we start on our no-low grant and hiring consultants when those funds are obligated and the agreement is signed. Again, there is an expected match of about $9,000, and that would come from local funds. Any questions? I know that was a lot of information.
That is bananas, but all good.
Yeah, and
Like,
it is a lot of extra work, but I feel like these are projects that we need in order for us to move forward, but also to reduce other costs. And they are consistent with, they're not necessarily projects that are, they would add to our current service. So we already have the staff available to work on those with the enhanced mobility of seniors and individuals with disabilities discretionary program. So the increased demand response, I would include a dispatcher for the weekend to help with that additional workload. But other than that, we have the staff to do these projects. Well, except for the consultant that would work on the big construction projects. Any
And
questions?
this is Greg. I do vote in favor of that, but I am signing off after that thing. So
Do you want to make
if somebody
motion
does,
before you sign off?
I'll make that motion to approve the 7C, the grant application.
I will second, sorry. I will second that.
Any other commentary, or I will sorry, I'm like losing my train of thought. All in favor?
Aye.
Hi.
Hi.
Vice chair votes aye. We can move on to the next one.
Wonderful, thank you.
Okay, see you guys. Thank you.
Thank you, Greg.
Bye, Greg.
Bye.
So what can promote him to do now? Assign him to do?
Alright, the next one we have on the list is decision on the urban renewal board representation, but as you heard earlier today, that is not needed, so we can move on. From
Yeah,
that.
I was kind of
Did you
quickly,
want to
just really
discuss?
quickly
Yeah.
hazy on, what are the next steps with that?
So from my understanding, Will is gonna take the feedback that he received today.
Mhm.
And my understanding is that the board is interested in being more involved with the board. He's gonna take that back to the city council and the city council will move forward. I would suggest either I will do my best to be there, or if there's another board member that would like to come with me, I think being at that meeting would be a good idea to show our support.
Yeah,
But
I,
that's my understanding.
yeah, I'm pretty enthusiastically supportive of that.
Great.
Yeah, so,
Want to come to the board meeting with me?
yeah.
Okay.
This, when is it? This week?
I think it's next week.
Okay. Okay, well, since we don't need to do anything on that, the next one?
So is the approval of a budget committee member candidate. We have 2 openings on the budget committee. I've received 1 application. Some of you may remember Leanne Hovey. She was former board chair and she is wonderful. She is not only has very good background on CAT and how far we've come, but she is also very fiscally minded and has a good financial background. So I included her application in the packet. I just need you guys to either appoint or not appoint Leanne, and if you guys do decide to appoint her, we still have 1 budget committee open, 1 budget committee member open.
Cool.
So. And what is the commitment for the budget committee person?
It is 2 meetings every year. It's part of our budget process.
Okay,
And as well as reviewing the materials and asking questions. Typically, those meetings are 1 to 1.5 hour long. So it's a great way for someone who wants to be involved but doesn't have a large amount of time to give. So also my other ask is, since we still have another opening, to please put your feelers out into your networks to help me find another member.
yep, I'll do that.
Any other questions? If not, I'll entertain a motion.
So, almost, I'm sorry, almost.
Okay, second,
I second.
okay, all in favor?
Hi.
Hi.
Chair votes aye.
That's a
Awesome.
Toby is chosen.
Yeah, awesome to Leanne.
The next one is the proposed Hood River Connect service changes. So this is the other item that kind of has to do with kind of being a little proactive about our SIF funds and reducing some strains on that. We had talked in the summer about removing the Hood River Connect service because of low ridership, and it's continued to be on my radar. Because of low ridership, we have tried a couple of different things, and we haven't seen a huge increase. So my recommendation is that the board consider removing that sooner rather than later. And so the suggestion is the April 26th, right? April 26th, which is when we would do our new summer schedule.
I'm surprised, but I get it. I like what you guys did with the schedule on the Columbia Gorge Express. I think that made it really clear, but still nobody's using it, so.
And I think there are some additional things we can do. The link goes to the port at certain times. So I think there's some creativity opportunity to make sure that people know when the city route or the link bus is down at the port. And then of course the Hood River City route will get people downtown. It's just a longer route.
I'm meeting with
Right.
Jesus tomorrow, and I was gonna pitch that they just reverse when they go to the port, because all of their times that we're writing right now should coincide with the Columbia Gorge Express time, so the link should be here when our bus is here, and then you won't be able to go as far as Best Western, but at least you can get to
Yeah.
the port without, it'll get closer. And I don't see how that would really negatively impact their service.
Thank you. Yeah. All right, any questions? I'm trying to move us quickly. All right. I have a motion. So moved. And a second?
And just to be clear, the motion is to remove the Hood River Connect service as of April 26th. And we will make sure that the public is notified and notices are posted. And we'll also work with the link.
Zella, would you like to make a second?
Sure, I'll second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, vice chair votes aye.
All right, and then the next one is the approval of the Port of Hood River letter of support.
Are there any questions? I'll entertain a motion.
A second.
You have to
Oh,
you have to
sorry.
make the motion first.
Oh, sorry. Did I make a motion?
Okay, second?
A second.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, vice chair votes aye. That's good. And that's all of our voting. Now we're on to Jeff.
Great, ops report, we are, safety score went up to 91, pretty pleased, I think all of our, speeding conversations have, been, received, and, that's improving, and hopefully we can, sustain that. Our gas prices are, right around average, and we have, a few vehicle incidents, customer incidents, and I know I wrote no formal complaints, and I don't know if you guys caught that, I just caught that now. There was a complaint made in the incident report, and I think I just messed up where I put it, but, so going through these, one of them was, we scraped a sign that resulted in, minor damage on a bus, wheel and tire fell off of a vehicle, the tire rolled into a parking lot and hit a car. Insurance claim was made, and that was also handled, working with Point S, because they had to rethread our actual bolts on our tire, and they were the last ones to, install the tires, so, we're working with them to solve that issue. Well, our bus is fine now, but,
Just to be clear, no one was hurt.
No.
Um,
then there were five of the incidents were bus barn incidents, little bumps and bruises on vehicles in there. We had some pretty good storms in January. We had a tree down on Highway 35, and one of our buses tried slowing down in time, but ended up running over the tree. Good thing the buses are pretty burly. We didn't have any damage. We had Nick inspect it. And we actually had another tree on 35 that, just
84, wasn't
84, thank you, that pretty much like just disintegrated in the road, and again, didn't do any damage to our buses, just kind of, call out to the crazy, intense weather that our drivers have to drive the vehicles in. And then we have a customer incident, with, a passenger that's using a lot of loud profanity on, our buses. It kind of coincides with the topic we were talking about earlier. We're trying to navigate. It's a reoccurring rider who's constantly shouting and cussing and sometimes directing those that language to our staff, and yeah, so we're learning how to navigate that. Other updates, still Gateway Detour Gateway construction is extended to March 4th, so we're gonna be in our temporary spot until March 4th. And other than that, we sold our snowplow in January, and yeah, and we're working on the new schedules, which I'm pretty excited about, and been having lots of meetings with the Link and Mount Adams to try to get us all synced up and coordinated. It's been a great.
I would like to do a shout out real quick for Jack. He has been working really hard with all the other entities to ensure that we have a system that is as seamless as possible and allows for as many transfers as possible. So he spent a lot of hours on it. So just want to make sure that shout out. is
Yeah,
done.
fingers crossed everyone agrees
Thank
to
you.
it, because that'll be pretty cool.
It's a
to
special
do.
skill set to like think like that in terms of like a system, because I don't know, I find it as a passenger, I'm just like, who came up with this schedule? Why are they like, you know, it doesn't make sense as a rider. Like, it's like somebody never put themselves in a passenger's shoes. So thank you.
Yeah, you gotta look at all the angles. I enjoy it. It's a fun puzzle to solve.
Yeah.
Cool, thanks for the shout out. Employee of the month is Rob Barrick. Rob is recognized for his kindness, reliability, and clear communication. He's consistently punctual and self-sufficient, requiring minimal supervision. In addition to being a great driver, we hear he is great at playing the bagpipes.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Sweet.
That's when to play sometimes.
Do you know, sorry, I completely forgot about this until just now. What happened with my daughter? Did you ever figure out who the driver was?
Yes, and we
Okay.
did address it.
Okay, thank you. Cool.
Yep.
All right.
And we also, not only that specific person, but also did a reminder to all drivers as well.
Yeah, we did a whole driver meeting of, in our last driver meeting, we talked about or defensive driving.
Mhm.
And on that topic as well, we are completely revamping our training, as well as adding defensive driving, some additional defensive driving trainings and other programs as well.
You know, it's another one of those, because we're presenting to city council next month about the demonstration project on 18th and 17th, and my daughter had been in the, you know, the side path, which is on the other side of the street. You know, when you're going south on 18th, the demonstration side path was on essentially the left side of the street. Then there would have been no conflict. Like, she would have been where she was supposed to be, but she was biking on the right side, like she like I normally would. But anyway, it's just another one of those things where it's another story to say we really need a space for these kids to walk and bike to school, because they have no sidewalk and they have no bike lane right now.
Yeah, and if you're interested to know, I did review the footage, and there was a vehicle coming this way, and to me, the right thing to do, that our vehicle would have stopped, but I think they made a quick decision to move forward.
Yeah.
At
That's
that
what
same time. And so
I asked her that question. I was like, was there a vehicle coming the other way? She's like, I can't remember. So, yeah, but thank you. I appreciate the follow-up.
Ridership, quick thing on ridership. It looks like our ridership overall numbers are down, but if you compare that to the amount of hours, our riders per hour is actually up. We were shut down for 2 days completely because of the snow, and then there were a couple other days where we had limited service, so the storm definitely impacted our overall numbers.
Jeff, I'm just noticing that. I just want to confirm the Gorge to Mountain. The Gordon's per hour.
Probably just bad math. I'm not sure.
Okay, so we'll confirm that.
Good catch.
Okay, cool.
All right, are we on to Amy?
We are, and we'll make this super quick. Just update, an informational update on the Downtown Employee Pass Program update. The City Council did approve a 2-year IGA with us for 150 passes each year. And if not all of those passes are redeemed, then we can roll over. Since we have Tim on board, we have a lot more resources to do additional marketing for that program. And the city council did expand the scope of that program. Originally, it was pretty focused, and they did ask for it to be expanded a bit. So I think that'll help too.
What do you mean by expanding?
So it was just the central business district,
Okay,
and I sent to them a proposed boundary, new boundary, which include the port, the waterfront, and then actually also Cascade too. So it would include Walmart and Safeway. And I'm still waiting to hear back to confirm that was approved.
So the employees that live in the zone or work
No,
in
the
the zone?
employees that work in the zone would
Oh.
get free passes. from the
Okay.
city.
Okay, got it.
side note, one of the things when I was campaigning, and talking to downtown people that came to me, the couple of them, is that the times of the buses do not work with the business hours. Has that ever been approached to you?
No,
Okay,
that's good to know.
that was something because it wasn't early enough for the early arrival.
Okay.
And
Do you know if
then
it was the Hood River City route, or are we talking Columbia Gorge Express?
it was Hood River City,
Okay,
because it was people, and I can go back to them, I have no problems, or I can tell you, you know, who it was that brought it to my attention. They said, it's a great opportunity,
yeah,
but the times for early and for late, if they had, you know, even if the place closes like at 6 o'clock, there's an extra hour, sometimes closing, and there was not bus service at that time. I don't know if there's been any changes, or if they brought it to your attention that maybe with the promotion and this going out, that might be something that you'll hear. That
I think it just, Tim, maybe we can work it into your script when you're working with the different businesses to, if they say no, kind of ask some questions as to why.
Absolutely.
All right, great. So the next is the board member community engagement. And this is informational, but I also have an ask. So this is a very busy time with all the different commissions or councils that we are part of. So, you know, Hood River City Council, Cascade Lock City Council, Port of Hood River, you know, the county. There's a lot of things happening, and transportation is included. And I would like us to be present and seen for those conversations. And then there's also, as we go down the road of the Gorge Regional Transit Strategy, I would also like board members to be a little bit more involved in that, and working with other boards or commissioners of other districts to advocate for transit. And so my ask is if you do have extra capacity to attend some meetings here or there, to let me know. And then as I see these come up on agendas, where I think it would be useful for myself or one of you all to be there, to shoot out a note and then kind of give you some thoughts. If I'm not able to be there, I have some maybe key points to do for public comment or things to bring up. So anyways, that is my ask. And if I could just get a general nod or.
Yeah, it's super important.
Yeah. I think that's really important, but I know for me, maybe what would be helpful is when you see these things to put an email out to all of us and say, like, this is my ask, this is the topic, who can make it? So we can kind of see who's available and how,
Because
I could do that.
good chance I might be going to one anyway, so
Yeah.
just wear two hats.
That would be great.
And yeah, I mean, even if you need people in the audience, yeah, I'm more than willing. That's where sometimes it's nice to have some type of identification for us. You know, that transit board or a linear or something like that. So that they're aware the board is there and interested.
We can look into that. Maybe purple pins,
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, kitty pins.
kitty pins. That'd be great. Thank you. I appreciate your help on that. It's been very apparent as I'm going to these different city councils and commissioner board meetings that I think having more of a presence would be very helpful, especially as we're going into all these big projects or potentially.
and since you have more of the background, you could be like, hey, I need, who's available for this specific meeting? This is on the agenda. We need to ask about this or listen up for this. And I think that will make it like more actionable and easier for us to follow through collectively. Like someone can pipe up and do it.
Yes, I can give you just a general things that pique my interest and things to ask. And also set up a meeting to discuss if needed to. So you feel prepared and know what you're doing. Okay. All right. Sorry.
Yeah, I think that, so upcoming events, is there any events or anything board wants to share?
So the only thing I want to make sure everybody's aware of, WashDOT is doing a compliance review on Friday. So it's very similar to the ODOT one, because we are receiving funds from them for the summer weekend white salmon service and for Dog Mountain. That does make us, they need to do compliance reviews. So it's not quite as intensive as the ODOT one, but they will be here, so I wanted to let you know.
Okay. Anybody else? I quickly will be, now I get why you don't have excess capacity to do like e-bike rebates. But I'm gonna be talking to the Board of Anson's Bike Buddies about applying for a couple of grants, one from AARP and one from Pacific Power. The AARP one would be, and both are e-bike rebates, one, and hopefully they would be partners with our lending library. So the idea is somebody checks out a bike for free for a couple of weeks. They decide they want to buy an e-bike, and so we give them $2,000 to go buy one. So the AARP one would be to fund for seniors, and the Pacific Power would be everybody else. So I'm gonna talk to Anson's Bike Buddies about applying for those. But I think that based on what Bend has said, it was like 650 people applied for their e-bike rebate and they could give out 70. So it's like wildly popular and it makes a huge difference in people's lives like immediately.
Yep.
So.
And I think well, depending on what the board thoughts, but I think a letter of support or anything that we can be involved in and definitely see what we can do to tie to the e-bike lending library. I think would be great.
Yeah.
Yes, sorry, just
No, I get
resources
it.
are a little low.
I'm also operating an e-bikers ad at the high school, and the idea would be for first time college bound students. And the idea would be that they go in this club with me, and then I give them an e-bike rebate to go buy a e-bike for college.
Cool.
So, yeah, but that's all I have.
Okay. Cool. I think that is it.
Okay, well, I'll take a motion for adjournment.
So
I'll make a second. Oh yeah, so moved. A second.
Yep. All right, we are adjourned at 5:39.
Okay. Thank you so much for staying an extra 9 minutes. I appreciate it. And being focused on all the action items. It's not ideal, but every once in a while we need it.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Will you be shortly getting out and about with your kiddo?